Maybe moment. Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
It is the middle of the week once more, and we are on our penultimate episode for May, and looking at Act 2 of Firstforce. We already discussed the nebulous nature of the names. I can't do it. I get every time.
No, my brain is going to a wrong place. Every time you say it, my brain is just going to a wrong place.
Just for clarity, I was going to say, why do I naturally seem to drop into alliteration? And yet, that's not what was on his mind at all.
No, it's not.
We're going to move on very, very quickly into our shout-out for the day.
Void beings.
Don't make me come over there. He's going to make me go over there. Excuse me 1 second.
I detect mockery in that tone.
So do I. Our shout-out for today is for Professor Fox and Dr. B.
Cool.
It's a fantastic channel. They offer some very sound and very simple medical advice, but it's all done to animation.
Oh, right. Okay, so animation for the win. But also, thumbs up for the title. It sounds like it should be on Nickelodeon.
It should be, really, yeah. Especially when you see the style of animation. It's interesting because the animation itself, it feels like it's targeted to a much younger audience. I think the most recent one they put up was something about personality disorders.
Oh, the deep stuff. Okay, yeah, right, okay, yeah. Nice.
And again, huge support to ours. So, guys, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Right. So just very quickly to pick up on something that may not have been clear from last episode. Because I think towards the beginning, I know before we started this, we had a conversation off camera and we kind of said, okay, we can make the sphere a bit bigger enough to hold a coffin. And I know we kind of said that at the start of the episode, but then towards the end...
we may have gotten a little bit carried away.
Yeah. As I think you pointed out quite rightly, we have to have at least 2... because of how the aliens function.
Yes. Without a male to channel the life force, there's no way for the female to send it up to the umbrella.
Exactly.
Or the receiver, or whatever they called it in the end. I can't remember.
I don't think they did actually call it anything. I remember they said that, she needs to be the one to transmit it, but I don't think they said...
what it is, yeah. No, you're right.
I think it just wanted the attention.
Clearly does.
I like that because we can feed that into this. Because we could say they get there are the 3 coffins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So because you've got the 2 blokes, you've got Cavor and Bedford.
Yes.
Which I double-checked is Arnold.
Ah! Thank you. I just wrote down A because I was in too much of a hurry.
Yeah, so we've got Matilda May.
Of course.
Men tend to be a little bit not as discerning as women.
No.
So that's why you've got the 2 males. So Kate's got the choice.
Of course. Just, So it depends on which mood she's in, which one gets brought back to the ship.
Exactly. But because they look almost identical, it shouldn't make any difference.
But yes, we do need to have 2 of those coffins. I wouldn't call them coffins. They're not. They're, even in the film they say they're not even physical objects. They're like a force field.
I suppose then we may as well then take the one who Kane kills at the end because he's the only one that actually speaks, really, isn't he? Oh, no, the other one does.
Does he?
Yeah, when he's assumed the form of the soldier when he walks in to see Falada.
Of course he does, just the once.
Yeah.
Just the once, but the other one speaks more.
Yes.
So yeah. I'd say give it to him. I just want to throw this in there, and I admit that I'm merely doing this just for the sake of hilarity, but I just imagine their Victorian sensibilities once they've gotten over the shock and their initial physical reactions to what's going on. Mm-hmm. There's probably a moment when someone decides, probably for the sake of the women in the room, that these need to be covered up.
Yes.
And then, because it's actually a force field and not a physical object, it just slides off like satin.
Yeah.
So they'll spend several minutes trying to and it just slides off.
I suppose in the end all they can do is turn them so they're facing away from them. It's about the only thing they can do.
I just feel like we should have a little bit of a play with the Victorian sensibility.
Of course we should, absolutely. Yeah. It did also make me wonder, and again, this will kind of come up maybe later on in the film, because it says that they've read their minds as they were approaching the ship.
Yes.
This wasn't originally what I was intended when I said last week that I like the idea of Cavalry being something unique.
Mm.
But I suddenly thought, could we use that in that actually the one that they want is Cavor, because a mind like that, most other people are cattle, but here's quite a unique mind. Would that be something that the aliens desire?
It would certainly save his life.
And of course, he's completely oblivious to all of this.
Of course not. He's Gibbs! Gibbs!
With regards to the return to Earth,
Yeah.
I can see that. Well, the film could go. Oh, sorry. Was there something you wanted to add?
No. I just realised that even though I've taken notes, I think they're fairly useless at this point. We're in virgin territory. Victorian virgins.
The best kind. Actually, no, because sexual health. Come on.
Of course.
There's not a lot of. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. We're gonna. But this is
that got out of hand quickly. Sorry.
It did. I can see there could be two possible films that we could end up with here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because there's the one version where we go with what Bedford says at the end, and that they landed off the coast of Zanzibar.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah.
Which I double-checked. Zanzibar is an island off of Tanzania.
Okay, right.
And that may, if we want it to, feed back into what we're saying is the events are more localised, so it's not common knowledge, which is why it can be forgotten about by the time we get to the crew going there in the future.
Oh, I see. And with it occurring entirely outside of England, of course.
But then on the other hand, we have to account for the fact that in this version, Cavor is coming back with them, who would have a greater degree of control over where they land.
Oh, yes. No, that is true. He was the only one who really knew how to fly it.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose we could say the additional... I know, but I suppose the coffins are kind of weightless, are they? That could be a thing as well. When they get them into the Severe, they just float there. They never actually buffet against anything. They just seem to be constantly...
Yeah, they appear to be under the
everything.
control of the vampires, as far as I could seem to get it. Because it opens when they want it to, but not any other time. And
exactly, yeah.
My theory is that it is actually something they've generated themselves.
That would make sense.
And so they'd have pretty much complete control over it.
Yeah. You can either go, yes, they land off there, and then we can follow that storyline, or we can say they land closer to home, and then...
Well, assuming that if if Cavor had control, he'd probably want to return home. Mm-hmm. Now, the point is, he is living out in the middle of the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
So, immediately things are isolated.
Yeah, I did think that we end up then with most of the events being in and around Dymchurch itself.
That was the theory I was going on originally, but that's because I'd forgotten about them landing off the coast of Zanzibar.
Mm-hmm.
I think either option is valid, but it's easier for the English to have forgotten about something that happened in Africa than it is for them to have forgotten something that happened
in the
sweet British countryside.
Of course. Especially when I double-check Dymchurch is in Kent. So, yes, they would know.
So dangerously close to London nonetheless.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I'm going to be honest. I've thought about this, and it kind of goes two ways. One is a kind of a scary adventure story. The other one is a tale of the apocalypse.
Rewatching the Life Force, I do wonder that. I mean, because they've been to Earth before, but they don't hunt their prey to extinction. They destroy London, but that's all they need. I mean, of course, we don't know because of the end of Life Force and what happens.
Yeah.
Whether they would have gone further, but the suggestion here is, got what we need, off we go.
It's possible.
But either way, it's going to be on that kind of scale. If we drop them in Africa, then, as you say, we get this kind of slightly weird sci-fi, almost sort of Indiana Jones African, or more like Alan Quatermain kind of African explorer adventure, which would be applicable to the Victorian early Edwardian period.
Yes.
And it's a nice parallel to the extreme craziness of Life Force in any way.
I agree. No, I agree.
Fantastic. When I looked it up around the time, there was a population of around 9,000 on the island itself, which it's either Zanzibar or it's also called Unguja, I think it's pronounced.
Oh, right, okay.
But there was, it had a breakdown of the census in 1910, and there was about 220 Brits living on the island at the time.
Okay.
And they were obviously colonials, so there would be some kind of British infrastructure there.
All right then. Okay, so
I must admit it is a shame, because if we had gone the other way, I'd have said we could have had Gibbs and his men being one of the first people to be turned.
I know, I was thinking the same thing.
Fantastic.
We have got to make a choice, buddy. We have to decide which one do we want to go with the crazy African adventure, or are we going to fuck with Gibbs?
I think the crazy African adventure.
Crazy African adventure.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Then.
So the first thing is, if they're going to crash land into the ocean, I mean, even that could be enough of a difference. They still hit the island, but they hit the island, not the water.
Oh, I see. Yep.
So we allow for Cavill's expertise, allows them to hit land, so we don't lose the sphere.
Yes.
We'll get there again with them landing, coming out, stretching their legs, and like, oh, back home.
Mm.
No, hello, moon. So yes, you say we are in virgin territory, because I put it down, but I hadn't really thought that much more ahead. No, I had. There was a couple of ideas.
Okay.
And again, this was kind of feeding back into what we were saying about how many coffins we bring back with us.
Mm.
Because I thought they've turned up at a period where the vampires, it's not expected for them to have discovered them anytime soon. So is this almost like a recon mission to find out how much has changed on Earth since the last time they were there? Unless we want to say that this technology is so sophisticated, they can just scan the planet as Halley's Comet passes.
You're asking me questions I'd never considered previously. Mm. I would say that they've got the ability to have some idea of what the technology level is.
Very rudimentary radio transmissions
Mm.
by that point, which they would do. Again, knowledge from Doctor Who, but I can't tell you.
Okay, right.
Probably would attract the attention of the locals first of all. This strange thing of drops.
Mm-hmm.
So they come curious to see what this is.
And I'm going to say that they landed a little rough, and they've damaged one or two of the shutters, which is what would stop him from immediately just launching them back up and back to England straight away.
So they say, well, we move the action then from the sphere to a small African village.
Okay, yep.
Well, just to begin with, allow them to get directions to the nearest large town so that they can try and contact the British consulate.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking, yeah. Their journey will be an attempt to get to the British.
Yes, they've been several days away from Earth. They're probably going to be tired. Obviously, I mean, I know the film doesn't allow for it, but from a purely science point of view, they've got to get used to gravity again. So do we want Matilda May to go wandering pretty much as soon as they find a place of rest?
Yeah, so I imagine, like, maybe they get these guys to take them back to the local village where they... I don't know, moving the entire sphere is quite a big job, isn't it?
I mean, as long as they can get the coffins out.
Mm. They'd get the coffins out, they'd go to the village, and they'd be looking to get equipment so that he could try and fix the shutters.
Yes.
Is what I was thinking. In my head, I was thinking they'd be near the village, but of course, no, that's a very big, heavy thing, and without reliable control over the shutters, he's got no real way of helping them out. So yeah, I imagine they contact the local tribe, and they get the coffins taken out and things like that. And the young miss decide to stay in the village, but Cavor is going to insist on trying to fix the sphere himself.
Yes.
So overnight, while he's tinkering with it, or not overnight, but whilst he's away tinkering with it, that's when things kick off in the village.
Brilliant. So they've got to try and organise transport to try, like a cart or whatever, to get these to the nearest town.
Mm.
And while that is there, I mean, if we want to, again, include that sort of supernatural element to it, if there's a wise woman or something in the village who can sense a sense of evil from these things, so so you've got conflict there between maybe the chieftain of the village, who's drawn towards Matilda May,
of course,
and she wants him to get out. So it's, again, you're playing with superstitions and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Keeping in with these analogies from Dracula, with our three central characters, you've got the perfect foil for Van Helsing, and then a perfect foil probably for Jonathan Harker and for Mina Murray as well.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. A lot of the stuff that we may have to invent for this, if we need to try and explain it away, it's the psychic connection thing, the same way they do in Life Force.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh, this is going to be a tough one, because they can convince them to send a messenger off to the big town to come with some heavy moving equipment.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will have to give them something. They've got the little British flag, the note, the notice, the summons.
The eviction notice, yeah.
Yeah, so they give them that or something, and they write on that just to prove who they are.
Ah, yes. Mm-hmm.
Or we could even have one of them go with them, so we can split up our people altogether. Because I know we were saying last week about the possibility of Matilda May possessing Kate.
Yes, this would be the time to do it.
So if Bedford goes off with a guide to the town to bring help.
Yeah, oh, I see, right.
They leave Kate there because she's tired from the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And while she's sleeping, somebody in the village, probably the chieftain, gets turned.
Of course.
And then, so this is where we need to decide, for the end of the film, where is she going to hide her body?
Ooh.
I mean, it's entirely possible that we want to scrap out everything that we've just said and just have them lay dormant until they get to a populated centre.
We are digging a difficult hole for ourselves if we don't, I think.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. They're intelligent enough to know where is the best place for them to be.
Yes.
To enact their plan.
Yeah.
So they will probably play possum until they get to a city.
That doesn't mean other people won't get sick.
No, exactly. Yeah, just nibbling a bit here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to keep this on as near a parallel to the original plot as we can.
Mm-hmm.
We replace the Space Research Centre with the British Consulate.
Of course, yes.
Which we can also, if we like, tack onto it the offices or a club which houses members, like an old boys club,
mm-hmm.
which houses members of the Royal Society.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay, yes.
So we've got a scientific elite there as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're fascinated by all of this. And we just translate all of the events from all before the shit really starts to kick off.
Yeah.
Into that setting rather than the Space Research Centre.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. It does, because there'd be a furor, they'd all want to have a look.
Of course they'd all want to have a look.
Of course. Purely for science.
Of course.
Purely for science.
And then the girl goes missing. One of these new scientists. I mean, we could even... I know we used him in the other one, but we could even get a 1960s Frank Finlay to play a younger Fallada. Or Fallada's ancestor from the 1910s.
Yes, we could. Yeah, why not? Why not?
With regards to the Sphere, are we leaving that out in the jungle, or we're going to get that brought back as well?
It'd be being brought back, but it's going to take longer because it's a big ass thing.
Hey, you can do that as much as you like. If you don't want to play, then you can sit in the corner and sulk.
We're waiting for the sphere to return, so things are set into motion. The girl disappears.
Yes. This is the point where we need to decide, I think, as well, because Space Girl, because that's all they ever call her.
Yes.
Has obviously picked Carlson and is using this link between them on purpose to drag them away.
Of course, yes.
So, are we saying that it's going to be Bedford? Or are we going to go a different route and say that she takes over the girl at some point during the act, they find her and save her, but it's left this residual connection between them that they can then use to try and track her?
Yes.
We're going to go that way.
Yeah, we're going to go that way. Yeah, it's a lot more interesting that way. And it gives him a compulsion to chase because you don't even need the being led astray. He's going after her.
Of course. So while they're getting led astray out into the wilds,
things are rapidly going to shit back at home.
Yes. So we'll get a similar kind of thing. So then with the one male, where we've got some redcoats.
Yes, of course.
Although no, they wouldn't be redcoats anymore by 1910, would they?
No, they wouldn't. They would be British Army.
Yeah.
But they're still firing rifles.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's this. It's no different, really.
No.
They're just not automatic. That's all.
Where are we going to have them go to then?
It'd be out in the jungle. Because the travel situation is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to lead them terribly far to get the time she needs for Outer Chaos to set it. Because
of the time period we're in, communications aren't going to be great. Okay, there'll be telegraph. And there may be some phones, but they're probably going to be, if there are any, communication will be limited to the island itself.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So they finally track her down. They rescue Kate. I suppose again in this version, because we're not going to have the pentothal and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We could just do the other one. It's a percussive recalibration.
Yes, nothing wrong with a bit of percussive recalibration. Yeah,
and she then leaps into something else and gets away. But they can then use Kate to follow her back,
yes.
or figure out that it's all been a ruse. We need to get back.
They need to go back.
Yeah,
and chaos ensues, which I feel like takes us to the end of an act.
It certainly does.
Yay! We haven't broken it yet, folks. We haven't broken it yet. We're going wildly off book, though.
Who doesn't want a crazy sci-fi jungle adventure?
Well, yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't indeed?
Fantastic. So, as always, we will be back on Friday. Of course, a quick reminder as well, I should have done this at the beginning. Every time. Doesn't matter. So, at the same time as this episode will be going out, our poll will be going up as well, which you'll be able to find on Twitter. If you're a patron on Patreon, and I will try and put it out on Instagram as well. That will be running until the end of the week. It's about 3 days, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yes, because so that at the pitch meeting for next month, we will then announce the winner. But I'll remind you about that on Friday. Until then, take care.
As always, guys, TTFN.
Ba 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 ba.